It's good. All right. Hello again, folks. Third time's a charm. So again, I'm Robert Soto, your host of the Facebook chat for this April. With me is Tammy Grunart, face and name you'll recognize from the Buzz videos as co-host, and along with Jenny Wislowski, one of the newer members to the Associate Relations team. And we're going to have Jenny tell you a little bit about herself, as well as introduce an initiative that we're taking on as an enterprise here, and the Associate Relations team is leading that. As I mentioned in my opening comments, we are trying something new, and as you've discovered with that, sometimes comes some technical difficulties. We seem to have figured that out. Again, apologize for that, but now that we haven't worked out, we should be good to go going forward. But as you can see, we're in a different format. We wanted to change things up a little bit, freshen them up, maybe a little bit of a more comfortable and complimentary view. And so that's what we'll be doing from here on out, trying a different location throughout the CBC, showing you a little bit of the building, at least the background, and moving from month to month into those different settings. So welcome. Again, apologize for the delays and the technical difficulties, but with that, we'll turn it over to Jenny to introduce herself, tell you a little bit about her background prior to joining the Associate Relations team, and then again, that initiative that we're kicking off that we're pretty excited about. Jenny?
Hi, everyone. Jenny Wislowski. Like Robert stated, I'm new to the Associate Relations team. I started in November, but I've been with Schneider for 22 years. I started off in our bulk division as the equipment planner, had the opportunity to move down to Chicago, where I was in Optimodal, which we now reference as Intermodal, and after 9 years of being in Chicago in operations, I had the opportunity to come back to Green Bay and start up our military program. I'm a veteran. I'm Army, go Army. Sorry, Marine on that side. But I love the opportunity to work with our veterans and help them find a career at Schneider. So I was proud of that role and excited for it. After that role, I held different roles within Schneider, or within driver recruiting, the last one being the leader of our field recruiting team out of the West. And my special talent is I break the internet. That is why I am better behind the camera than in front of it. But I do want to talk to you about a new program that we are kicking off for the drivers. It's called the Schneider Ambassador Team Program. And we are looking for a group of 8 to 10 drivers that have a diverse background of different driving experience levels, different lines of business, so bulk, van truckload, intermodal, dedicated. We want to cover it all. And we're really looking for these drivers to be mentors and mentors to our current fleet, and ambassadors for our drivers and for the transportation industry. We're looking for these drivers that will also attend special events. So these events could be anywhere from driver appreciation days and meeting with our current fleet. They could, when we have senior leaders that go out to the field, it could be working with them and talking to the drivers at that time, and also attending recruiting events with our driver recruiting side, our field recruiters, and having the opportunity to speak to external candidates. In addition to this, we're looking for individuals that have a strong skill set for social media, because we want you to be influencers within our organization and external. And what else am I missing? There's a lot. We're excited about this program. We're really getting it off the ground running. You will see tomorrow on Compass that there will be a link on Compass for the application process. So you will need to complete an application if you're interested in this. What I will tell you is that you'll have to either Google or search Ambassador on the home page, or you can scroll all the way to the bottom and you'll find the link. Next week on May 2nd, Monday, there will be an article out on Compass, and it will have the link also for the application included into that article. Once we have your application, we will send it over to your ops leaders, because we will need their endorsement and for you to be part of this program. And another great thing that I kind of missed out is that once a year, we are going to have all of these drivers come up to Green Bay, and they'll be meeting with the leadership team to provide feedback. So this is another listening tool, another opportunity for us to hear what our driver fleet thinks is great opportunities and areas for improvement. So we are very much interested in getting that feedback.
Yeah, very excited to have the group come. Obviously, we have to work to get there, but panels, driver panels, sit-ins with planners, sit-ins with leadership, time with the various departments that impact your ability to be productive out there. So we want to make sure we're listening, we're keeping current, and utilizing that information to improve the driver experience. So we're hoping there'll be a lot of interest out there. We're hoping we'll be inundated with folks interested in applying, and then we'll quickly work, as quickly as we can, work through that process to start whittling it down to that 8 to 10 drivers selected throughout the country. Again, various lines of business, various time driving, various time with Schneider, all those kind of things, and really just have a broad set of drivers that we lean on for feedback and interactions.
I'll say that if you have more additional questions, please feel free to reach out to anybody on the Associate Relations team. We're happy to tell you more about the program or answer questions. Also, you can go to your leaders. We just started this week rolling it out to operations, so don't be surprised if your leader hasn't heard about it yet. They will be this week and next week, but again, our team is here to answer any questions and to be there to help you out through the process.
Good. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a great night, everyone.
Thanks, Jenny.
Not break it, everyone.
Jenny was very anxious to get out of camera frame, so
Yes.
Again, a different format, different approach. We're going to try and bring others on, other social relations team members on, to potentially give, again, not potentially, to give their background and kind of where they've been, what they've done. And the intent is to have more visibility to the team as you see them out in the field. You know, maybe a recognizable face and name. They might jump in a truck with you and do some ride-alongs, those kind of things. So just really trying to increase that visibility to the team and what we do. And again, there are resources for you that you might run into at a yard out there somewhere in your work. So
Yes.
we're going to go ahead and get into the questions. And again, Tammy is going to quarterback as she usually does. Usually it's behind the camera, but again, she's going to start quarterbacking from in front of the camera, and we'll go into the questions at this point.
Yeah, so you're going to see me looking down a lot, so I'm pulling questions that you're asking, and then I'm capturing it all in one place so that we can ask those questions. But the first question, Robert, is from Kevin Coker. He says, "Good evening, Robert and team. Is there any update on the pilot that Schneider is running with 4 states pertaining to DOT e-inspection? And are all drivers being used for the pilot?"
So good question, Kevin, and welcome to the April Facebook chat. Nice to see your name out there. I know you're a regular, and again, as I mentioned last month, a Million Mile awardee this year, so I want to make sure we call that out again. So congratulations on that. So from the pilot program, we are using Chambersburg Intermodal drivers as well as some Stewart Straff Van dedicated drivers, a small group. I can't give you the number that it defines that small group, but a small group of drivers nonetheless. And so this pilot, basically the way it works is the drivers, as you approach these inspection sites, certain information will transfer electronically to the inspectors, CDL, name, VIN number, truck, those kind of things, pertinent info. And by doing so, it speeds up the inspection process. So I've not heard anything about how it's going. I assume that based on kind of trying to improve that process, it's a good thing. We will be looking to, DriveWise will be looking to expand it across every state, and obviously we will be in line with that. There are some technical difficulties that we are working through, but long story short, that program and that initiative will go widespread across all the different states. And so you should see that coming out at some point in the near future. But good question, and again, another initiative that looking to help improve our drivers' experience out there. Thank you, Kevin.
So Joseph Morning Jr. has a question. With the increase in new trucks coming into the company, any plans to give the training department at the operating centers a few new trucks to use during the orientation phase? I feel that the exposure to new equipment, as well as some of the later updated equipment would help trainees when they get with their TEs. He's right there. I'm starting to see more and more TEs with new equipment and trainees never seeing it prior to the TE phase of training.
Okay, that's a good call out, Joseph. And again, as a TE, you're definitely living in that world. And so I don't know the answer to that. I know obviously that as new trucks come in, there is a strong line of folks waiting for those new trucks. I will share the feedback with our training team. They're always receptive to the information we get here and the concerns and feedback shared. So we'll certainly share that with that team. I think it makes sense, right? So being able to give a new driver that look that on kind of both ends of the spectrum, a newer truck and older truck, and what they'll potentially see, the spec differences and things along those lines. So I think that makes sense. We will share that with that team, and then I'll look to circle back with you. So if we could just note that, I'll circle back with you, Joseph. We've been reaching out kind of ad hoc, but I appreciate that, and I'll reach out through those back channels to let you know how that information was taken and regarded and potentially put in use. So thank you for that call out there, Joseph.
So Susan Dumas asked a pretty long question, so bear with me. I would like to know if or when the company GPS will be updated to correctly reflect the truck entrances to the locations. About 90% of the stops we have made have incorrect information in the GPS in regards to the truck entrances. In addition, the GPS will try to reroute us out of a fuel stop down country roads to get us back to the highway when the entrance back to the highway is 100 feet from the driveway. We have repeatedly provided feedback on the GPS via adding flags to the correct location, yet nothing ever seems to be updated. I really feel the GPS system is substandard for the trucking needs of your drivers.
So thank you for that, Susan. So we are implementing a new navigation system, and you'll be seeing a buzz video coming out on that. I believe it might be Monday, but soon, potentially next week. And so I don't know that it's going to address the things that you've just said, but if you can send some of those locations that are potentially, that you might have jotted down or shared before, if you can share that with us, we'll capture that. We'll list it as a follow-up, and then I will work with the folks involved there to get you some direct feedback on what's changing, what's taking place, and where that feedback is going. So again, if you have location codes specifically, we welcome that, because that'll help us drill down into what's happening or not happening and how we can potentially improve that. So thank you for that question, Susan.
Don Wolford, is there any way to get the messaging app added to the Compass mobile app so we can see messages from our DTLs without bringing our tablets home?
I don't know, but good question. So we will take that one as well as a follow-up. And again, this is the kind of stuff that potentially improves your again, driver experience. So we will take that one as follow-up and run with it, and then get back with you on that as well. I don't know the answer to that in terms of the tech capabilities, but yeah, never hurts to ask and get that information. So thank you.
Marcus Ammon has a question. When is Schneider going to fix the inbound speakers at the Carlisle OC? It's been broken for a year. How able, oh, information on the pay change. So he has a two-part question.
Okay.
So one, let's talk about the inbound speaker in Carlisle.
So from a speaker standpoint, it being down for a year is a concern, obviously, and something we should address. So we'll get with our driver service folks as well as our facilities folks and share that information. I'm curious to hear how the in-gate, out-gate is working with that speaker not working properly, if it's intermittent or whatever the case may be. But we will follow up with that. I have to believe they've heard feedback, and we'll work through that. But we'll circle back with you on that as well as we reach out to those folks. From a pay change standpoint, we can't go into a lot of detail, and part of it is there's more information forthcoming, and part of it is each and every division, and even within the same division, there's going to be variances on the pay changes, the pay design changes. So The intent is to decrease the variability of the pay, which has been a concern that's been shared with us on many occasions. To value your time, which is also feedback we've gotten from drivers in terms of I'm stuck and I'm sitting and it's not in my power to kind of help myself, move I mean. And so the pay package is really to simplify it so it's able to be easier to understand, value your time, incent productivity, and again, it's going to vary division to division, whether it's bulk, whether it's intermodal, van dead. There will be differences in the pay design, so I can't go into specifics. And for that matter, there are buzz videos that have gone out, obviously. There will be conversations taking place at the different levels to include videos from your DOs, conversations with your OMs and your DTLs, and we'll run you through the specifics of what it means to you as an individual driver, and then of course answer any questions you have in that regard. But can't go into a lot more detail than that, and not trying to get kind of the horse ahead of the cart, or the cart ahead of the horse, as they say. But more info to come. I know it's kind of it's obviously not desirable that you're sitting and you're waiting for kind of what the outcome is, but good information to come, and that will be out again into May and into June.
Yeah, and I think, Robert, this isn't the first. We have drivers in this type of a pay configuration already, so this is not new for Schneider. We've got drivers in a few states,
right?
And I think we've gotten positive feedback from those drivers that are in this pay package.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of it is modeled after what we've seen in California and Washington State. Again, not always an apples to apples comparison, but we do have that as experience that we've learned from and leaned on. And obviously we've solicited a lot of information from drivers in our fleet to make sure that we have a solid pay design and pay design change, so that you know, we have the best product as the end result. So more info to come, but you're right, good call out, Tammy. We have examples out there that we've kind of learned from, and we've lived through at this point.
Absolutely. Terry Wolf would like to know if there's a mentor program for company drivers.
So there is, and again, I don't know if it's called mentor or ambassador, but they're both. I think there's both programs. I'm looking to the team because I think there are both programs out there. We can.
Topeka Home Depot, Jenny, correct?
Yeah. Different dedicated accounts have different types of mentorship programs.
Yes.
Yes.
So we don't have them, I don't think,
Across the board,
enterprise-wide,
right.
Or through with one service offering, but there's pockets that do have those mentor programs, and a good opportunity, I think, for us to learn from those and then expand them somewhere down the road.
We've definitely found value in it, and obviously the drivers that are being helped are finding value in it. Terry, we will take down your name. Not sure what configuration you're in, what account, van dedicated, you know, over the road, whatever it may be. But we can certainly provide your name to the folks that, again, manage that process and see if there's an opportunity there for you. So we'll take that as a call out and a follow up. But thank you for that question.
Let's see. Kurt Ditto would like a mirrorless truck.
Well, I know that, again, and we have Kelly Lynn here who's got the Mirrorless truck, and I was chatting with her briefly about it over lunch yesterday, and besides the initial getting used to it, she was absolutely a big fan, and just spoke highly of the Mirrorless truck. So I believe that's something we're going to across the board to the extent that we can. Obviously there are kind of hiccups in the supply chain, so I'm not sure how quickly things will progress, but the Miller's truck, we're seeing good results there, and I think at some point, whether it's sooner rather than later or later rather than sooner, those are the type of things that we're focused on. From a safety standpoint, from a technology standpoint, those are the kind of things that we are always looking at, and if they make sense and they're kind of doable, if you will, across the enterprise, those are the kind of things that we definitely will continue to do. So good question there, good call out. a lot of good feedback there, and hopefully we'll see more of that quickly in the future.
Chris Hawaii Baisa has a question or a concern around intermodal. So intermodal jet set. Union Pacific, in his opinion, is the worst rail yard he's been to, from California, Texas, Chicago, Denver, Colorado. They need a lot of work before the big switch in 2023.
Yes. Chris, yes, you're right, and then that's one of the reasons why we approached it the way we did, which was broaching the subject with you and letting you all know about it early this year, and then working through the entirety of this year to start seeing those improvements. I'll tell you, just having been part of different conversations taking place, to include a visit, and I mentioned it last month with Mark. I was able to get out to Southern California in February, maybe it was March, early March, and meet with some of the tech folks on the UP side and the project leaders, as well as some of the leadership that is going to help the UP through this process. And I will tell you, they are absolutely engaged. They are listening. And again, without trying to put words in the mouth of some of the drivers out in SoCal, I think they walked away feeling pretty good about the interactions and the openness to the feedback. And so you're right, there is work to do. What I will say is there's been steady improvements, small, slow, steady improvements. And that's what we're looking for, incremental improvements, additional feedback. And that's the important part as well, is I hear what you're saying. Continue to provide feedback, specific feedback by ramp. The advantage you have is you're going to see ramp by ramp what's working and what's not working. And if you can provide that specificity to us, we would absolutely welcome that, and then again help that along with the process. Your intermodal contact, again, you can reach out to any of the associate relations team, but your intermodal contact, pardon me, is Juan Aldana. And so he's definitely one that you might see out there. I don't know where you are, week to week, month to month, but I may just ask Juan to come out here and introduce himself, and you'll get a face and a name. And then again, you might run into him out there. Share where you'll be month to month. Maybe you have awareness of what market you'll be in, and then we'll see if we can match up. At the very least, we can have Juan reach out to you and get that feedback, and Juan would be happy to share his phone number, his email address, his horoscope sign, and all those kind of things. This is Juan Aldana, and he is actually the newest associate relations member who started on February 1st of this year. So can you give us your background and where you've been, what you've done?
Sure. So nice to meet everybody. So yes, I am the newest member. I've been with the company going on 14 years. Actually, I started as a driver, got my CDL through the academy out in Fontana. So that was quite the experience. I joined the company in 2008. I'm sure many of you remember that market crash. And I was looking for a way to kind of recover. So joined Schneider. It was going to be just a temporary kind of get back on my feet. And obviously it turned into a career. I've had some great experiences here, some great leaders. So I drove 3 years total, year and a half in teams, and a year and a half in intermodal. And that was kind of the operation that I jumped into. So I started as a SOS in the office, then I became a dispatcher, an APM, which really kind of opened my eyes up to the industry, then DTL, support shift manager, and now here in the associate relations team. So I've seen different angles. I have quite a few perspectives on the industry. But again, one thing that really drew me to stay, or what really made me stay here was some of the leadership that I've experienced. So I'm happy to be here, happy to be part of the team, happy to work with all of you. So I'll go ahead and put my email, my phone number. I don't know about my horoscope. Today's was kind of iffy, but I will definitely share some information with you guys. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. If I'm traveling, I might not answer, but I definitely will get back to you. So you'll see that information come up shortly.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you for having me.
Thank you, Juan.
Fantastic.
So we're excited about Juan's background, not only as a driver and bringing that driver perspective, which is always valuable and one of the reasons we get out and do ride-alongs and visits with our drivers, but having been on the SoCal support shift leader, having been the SoCal support shift leader for the last, prior to this, 3 to 4 years, 3 years. Again, it gives you great insight as to the challenges our drivers go through, particularly evenings and weekends. And so we're excited about its background and his experiences and what that brings to the team. So if you see him out there, welcome him. And Chris, definitely, he'll post his stuff. Connect with him. He is your intermodal resource. Again, we're all available, but he is your intermodal resource. And market to market, you may see him out there. Maybe he can do a ride along with you and get that firsthand perspective as you're out there running some loads. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, so we're going to do some shout outs.
I'll let you do the shout outs.
Okay. Good evening, all from Brian Cirque. Hello from Rochester, Minnesota, while on time at home from Bob Hamry. Hello from Chambersburg Intermodal, Michael Hare. Kurt Ditto is in Menominee, Wisconsin. Greetings. Hello, Rob and team, checking in from somewhere in Tennessee, Christopher Foshi. Donald Trump Sr., hello, Robert from Chambersburg. And then good evening from Hammerson, Andre Nick.
And we're still debating on whether Chris or Denise is the #1 team on the YRC, and I think that debate is still going.
Yep,
so.
absolutely.
But welcome to all of you, and thank you for being here.
Corey Colvin would like to know if there is any way to get location names updated. Way too often while looking for a company name, it isn't correct on the tablet for the location.
Okay. So again, I would welcome specific location codes, location names. We have a process that updates to ensure those are accurate. But if you can give me specifics, then we can dig in and see why those maybe aren't as accurate as they should be. So if you can send those, again, we're going to mark that as a follow-up as we go to that appropriate team, provide those names and locations, and then come back to you with what the outcome is and what the information they share is. So we'll take that as a follow-up. Thank you for the question.
And Brian Garcia wants to know if there are any plans to increase PTO. He noticed a Schneider ad on Facebook stating the company offers more PTO. However, I've been with the company for 6 years and I still only get 2 weeks of PTO a year.
So Brian, thank you for the question and thank you for joining us. Right now, so again, kind of going back to last month's, there were similar questions around pay and benefits, PTO. At the moment, we don't have plans to change the PTO. We understand the question and the desire for more. We definitely take those that feedback, that sentiment, and we share that at all levels of leadership, and so we have an awareness around it. Again, short term, there's no plans at the moment to adjust PTO, but we always want that feedback, and we share that feedback. So thank you for that question.
Yeah. David Daly, just more of a comment than a question, but he said in the newer trucks there's a blind spot on the right side with mirror and the pillar. So that would be a good takeaway, I think, for the maintenance team to take a look at that and make sure
Was
that...
it David?
David Daly.
David, if you can post your truck number, or we can find it as well. But again, those are the kind of things, truck to truck, different specs and things. I tell you, our equipment folks are just wonderful in that area in terms of information and sharing information and always looking for this type of feedback. So if there is something like that, as you're sharing, share that information, that truck, we'll capture your truck information and we'll circle back with you. We'll look into it tomorrow and then hopefully be able to get back with you by Friday, if not, Monday.
So Robin Melton shared that there are a lot of pending defects in OOS trailers, so out of service trailers at customers. Can they be sent to a local repair shop or local mobile repair? So how can we get those trailers fixed?
Well, read that one more time. There are a lot of pending defects in out-of-service trailers at customers. Can they be sent to local repair shops or local mobile repair? So first I would ask if from a DVIR standpoint, if that's being flagged, I also know that there is an SEM app that we're hoping folks will use more often that will help us to get things into the system faster. Again, I would need a little more information and specificity, but that's where I would start with ensuring the DVIRs are populated appropriately, as well as utilizing that SEM app. I had a recent concern shared with me through email about drivers not updating DVIRs and the next driver gets there. So I don't know if it's a little bit of that or they're just out of service and reported and we're not getting to them. So if that's the case, again, we welcome the location code if there's one or two or a certain couple of locations that you're dealing with. We can definitely take those location codes, those names, and see what's populated there, what's showing there, and what the status of that equipment is there, and then again start to figure out where the gaps are, what's missing. But again, if the DVRs are not being populated, then there's not going to be any notification, and again, I'm just making assumptions on what's taking place or not taking place. But if you can send that information, some additional specificity, we can work that as well. Thank you for that.
Kim Miller, I believe Kim is a bulk driver, wants to know if there's any way to have video on backing in at tank washes. Some horrible places to park, especially in Kearney. It would be nice to see a video to have that extra help.
So a video camera type thing?
That's what I'm understanding, yes.
I believe that we're experimenting with something like that. I don't know if it was Intermodal that was doing it. No? Okay. I seem to recall some sort of camera situation where you can kind of add it and have visibility in the back.
I think it was just on van truckload,
was
but
it van truckload?
That was a pilot from quite a few years ago where there was a backing camera, but I believe it was detachable, so not the best option if you forget to take it off your trailer.
Yeah, okay. Again, as we were talking about earlier, Mirror Again, I believe there's some sort of technology coming out in that regard. Again, from a kind of cost and ability to operationalize it, those are always the considerations that we're looking at. But we will take that back, and you can just make a note of that. I'll approach our safety team and see, is there anything along those lines? And then we can share that, yeah, that's something we're looking at, or hey, that's out of scope right now, whatever the case may be. But obviously, from a safety standpoint and a preventability standpoint, something at least worth asking about. So thank you for that question.
Steve Platt, can CS go through the account and update the times that they are open, because a lot of them are not correct?
We can. Steve, welcome to the chat, and Steve is a Kearney, New Jersey intermodal driver. If you can send, again, if there's a certain location, we can reconcile kind of what it shows with what you're experiencing. So if you can send that information, we can do that and ensure that there's accuracy there. I would also recommend, again, going back to the Rate My Location app, if you're seeing discrepancies between what we're showing or what we're expecting and what's actually happening, then again, we look at Rate My Location all the time. I know the individual, well, I was sitting right outside the desk of the individual that manages that process, and I know they're actively involved with that information, sharing that information, digging into that information. So if you, again, can share that information, we will follow up, but also I recommend, again, that staple, that go-to is Rate My Location, provide that feedback, and then we share that feedback, review and share that feedback.
Deshaun Taylor would like to know if you can talk on your Bluetooth while driving.
Deshaun, you cannot. We have a safety stance, and it really is around focusing on your driving while you're driving. And we hear different versions of what folks feel they can focus on. But again, cognitively speaking, you can only focus on one item at a time. It's scientifically proven. And so if you're on, even with that Bluetooth on, you're still kind of interacting with the Bluetooth and the conversation versus focused on the road. So you cannot drive while talking on a Bluetooth or handheld or whatever the case may be. That's our safety stance. We believe in it, and we continue to have that stance.
So Christopher Ulji would like you to explain the rider policy. So I'm assuming what he means is the passenger. Or can we take a passenger along with us as we're driving?
Yeah. So I'm not. It's been a while since I've signed a rider policy in operations, but I know there is a length of time that you have to meet where we, if you're new to us, we want to make sure you are a safe driver before we allow a passenger in the truck with you. So there is an amount of time that's required, and then it's a matter of reaching out to your driver team leader, getting approval, signing a form, and it may be an e-form now because, again, back in my day it was a form we printed out and signed, and then purchasing the appropriate insurance. It's a small fee for 30 days if it's still the same process, and then you can have that rider with you. There is an age limit. I think it's 10 years old. I could be wrong. 8 years old, 10 years old. 10-year-old minimum to be in the truck as a rider. But basically, there's a time component for you, there's an age component for your rider, and then there's insurance and a small fee to make sure we're all covered and good to go.
Kurt Ditto, again, how can you make the trip plan work for dedicated accounts? It's never right for unload times. One location says 1 minute, and another location shows 2 hours. Totally not right on our end, and we can't change it.
So Chris, good question, and I recall, and maybe it was last month or it could have been through a Compass thing that I was working on, where somebody said the same thing about the duration, in some cases a minute, and in some cases, hour or 2 hours. So again, if it's specific to a dedicated, is that dedicated account?
Yep, dedicated account.
Again, give us the specific locations you're seeing discrepancies with, and we will dig into that. With that kind of information, it's very easy to dive in and figure out what's happening or not happening. So again, if you can provide that location code or codes, and then we can follow up with you on that. We'll get it right to the people that impact that process and get you some feedback right back. So thank you for that question, Chris. And the camera is working again.
So Corey Colvin said that we need to make it so that drivers can report damaged and problem trailers, flats, broken lights, those types of things.
You can and you should. And again, that's part of the DVIR process. Mm-hmm. So the short answer is you have that ability. If you're unfamiliar with what should be taking place, I would recommend reaching out to your driver team leader, potentially your former TE, OSR, really anyone at the operating center can help you in that regard. But yeah, you can and you should be updating equipment in the DVIR. And I'm looking at Kelly Lynn and she's nodding her head. So yes, that ability is there and should be used every day.
So we've got a couple of questions on our pet policy. The first one comes from Rhonda Maltzby. Is there any plans to expand pet policy to solo drivers? And then Vanessa Nelson asks a similar question. I know animals are not allowed with bulk, but are they allowed with van?
So the answer is no. We're not looking to expand the pet policy at the moment. There's no discussion around that, and so the answer right now is no. It will only be for teams. And what was the second part of that question?
It's not allowed for bulk. Is it allowed for van truckload? And the answer to that is no as well.
Right, not solos, but van truckload teams. And
yeah.
Again, at the moment, I know not what folks want to hear. I have 2 little dogs at home, which I love as well. But yeah, we're not going to change that policy. Right now, we have no plan to change that policy.
Let's see. David Trump Sr. wondering about getting mirror eye in training trucks with a trainer sitting in the passenger seat. It's hard to see what's going on with the driver's side, but with mirror eye inside, it would greatly help us to see what the driver is seeing.
Yeah, so a little bit of a dilemma there, David, and again, welcome to the Facebook chat. David is a intermodal driver out of Chambersburg. I think having a student in the truck and trying to learn all the stuff that goes on in the training situation, I don't know that we want to place them in a situation where potentially the next truck could have it, couldn't have it, so we want to approach it from a more traditional setting, i.e. mirrors, your traditional mirrors. I understand what you're saying in terms of the value for you as a TE. I don't know that we're there yet, but again, that's the type of feedback we will definitely share with our training team, and at some point it potentially evolves, right? But I don't think that's in the cards right now, but again, we'll take that feedback and share it with the training team.
Chris Hawaii Bisa, can we get more customers on board with using eDocs? There are a lot of containers I pick up without paperwork, and I spend so much time going out of my way to get paperwork printed. I know some drivers have portable printers, but I can't. He's a jet setter, he can't bring his printer with him.
Well, I think that's where things are going, Chris, and if there was a silver lining through the pandemic, I think some of those things that, were inherent concerns because of COVID helped push some of that type of stuff, the paperless and the eDocs and that kind of thing. So I think that's where we're going, and whether it's as fast as we'd like or not remains to be seen. But that's where we're going at this point, is more electronic paperwork, e-signing and those type of things. So yes, I think that's where we'll end up, just not there as quickly as probably would suit you, but that's the direction I think we're going as we evolve.
So Mike Frame is asking a clarifying question on DVIRs. He said they don't do anything to get maintenance done. Some trailers on my account have the same defect for weeks on end. If drivers aren't submitting SEM requests, they aren't getting fixed. Am I wrong on this? Do DVIRs actually get reported to maintenance? Because I've always been told they don't.
Well, and that's where I'm saying, Mike, we need to notify we need to update the DVIR, and then also we're trying to promote that SEM app to ensure that it's flagging for our folks, and so that again there's awareness to the issue, and then potentially being able to get those things fixed. And again, as I said, I just talked to a TE on a van dedicated account. It's a little more remote, and so it really comes into play then, and the importance of it, because there's not a service truck nearby, there's not an OC nearby, so that notification really is paramount in both settings to ensure that as the next driver gets there, they're not stuck with something that wasn't reported before. Mm-hmm. So we need both to happen. From a notification standpoint and awareness standpoint.
So Robin Melton is asking a clarifying question as well. She said, you keep saying that you're going to get that information and you're going to get it to the right people. How are you going to get the information back to the individual who asked the questions? Can you explain that?
Yeah, so Robin, good question. What we do is we have a to-do list, and then what we do is we follow up with those individuals. So I still have a sheet from not March, but February that I didn't throw away yet, but I went in there and I check marked everything and had, whether it was Stu Sarkala on a MPG question or us on a specific question, getting back to that individual. And Vicki looks like she wants to say something.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I think they're looking like, hey, I've got a location code, or I've got a shipment number, where can I send it? So if they could send it to HR, Associate Relations at Schneider.com, and tell us if it's, hey, bad hours or bad trailers, then I can send it to you, Robert, and then you can follow up with the right people.
So HR,
Associate
Relations at Schneider.com.
All one word.
Yeah, so you can share it through there. You can also post it on the Facebook chat, because we capture it there as well. But we do get back to folks. It may not be me getting back. It may be, hey, our resident expert in this area or that area, where we ask them to follow up with you, versus me being kind of the go-between and having to kind of translate back and forth. But we do get back to folks and try to follow up, even if it's not the answer you want or the answer you expected, but we do try to follow up on every kind of follow-up item that's shared with us.
Yeah, and hold us accountable. So if we forget or we don't get back to you on a question you asked, reach back out and remind us, because faces, sometimes we forget, right?
Right.
There's a lot going on in the chats, and we're taking notes as fast as we can, but
Yeah.
sometimes we might drop something. So let us know, and we'll get back to you. Marcus Hammond has a follow-up to the ride-along. Any consideration in lowering the age of family members down to like 6? A lot of other carriers apparently have that as a threshold.
So the short answer is no, Marcus. But we can definitely we like to benchmark, right, to ensure we're as good, if not better, than our competitors. And so if they're doing it at 6 years of age, again, I'll share that with our safety team. And again, we can look at that. Is that what others are doing? If they are, should we make a change? All those kind of things. So again, Marcus, we'll take that as a call out. We'll share that with our safety team, and then we can share some information with you. But thank you for that, Marcus. And no truck wash at Carlisle at the moment.
Lornell Carter said, why don't you get back to me personally? And we will, right? If you have a question that is a personal question, we'll reach back out to you and get you that information. But if it's information that we believe other drivers would benefit from, we're going to share that in a broader format, either on Facebook or another venue, so that others can benefit from that. But if it's specific to an individual driver, we'll absolutely reach back out.
Yes, absolutely.
We got some shout outs. So let's do some shout outs. We got Kim Miller. Gotta go, but great job to you both. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
We have hi from Kim, Oatly account, going to Quebec. Hello all from Stowe, Ohio, from Ben Starbucks.
Hello, Ben. Good to see your name.
Hi from Texas, Daniel Millen. James Anagnost, hi from here in Green Bay. So he's right here down the street somewhere, I'm
I
assuming.
believe James is a De Pere resident, as am I. So hello, James, from a fellow De Pere resident. I don't know if I should say West De Pere or East De Pere, but De Pere nonetheless.
Hi from Georgia. I'm excited with my future with you guys. That was from Dominique Logan.
Welcome, Dominique, and we're excited about your future here as well. Thank you for attending.
Yeah. So Susan Dumas asked a question about DTLs. Are there any plans to increase the number of DTLs or reduce the number of people each DTL has? Communication back from DTLs is not always timely, and I think it's because they're so busy.
So Susan, good question and good call out. And so we're always evaluating the driver to DTL ratios. And without going into the weeds, there were conversations taking place this week to include today about those ratios and do we have them right. We have a DTL redesign, I'll say pilot, although it's been going for, what is it, about a year now, a year and a half now. And we have different learnings from there, and we're trying to identify how do we remove certain tasks and streamline that communications process so that we can free up our DTLs to spend more time in a kind of coaching and feedback and awareness standpoint. So a good question. We are looking at that. It is actively going on, and we will continue that DTL redesign process, and then at the end of that process, our hope and our intent is to have a better experience for our drivers as we, and I'm just looking at 3 more questions.
Yeah, so we're right at 7, but we started a little bit late, so let's do 3 more questions.
Okay,
I think that's fair. There are times I have to wait for long periods of time at a customer. Even though I put this in my notes, I don't always get paid detention pay. Why?
So from a detention standpoint, again, it's 2 hours from the appointment where it should start paying. It will start to pay you. It should be an automatic process, but we always recommend making sure your DTL is aware of it so that should there be any hiccups, it's noted and it'll pay out. But the question is also very relevant, specific to, again, the next gen pay. And the fact that in the next gen pay configuration, that pay design change will pay in those situations where you're on duty not driving or waiting on something, whether it's at a shipper, at a consignee, maybe in line at a customer where you're waiting to get in line. And those types of things will, on a go-forward basis in the new pay design, again, in the intent of valuing your time and understanding that those things that impact you that you don't control, again, sitting at a customer, not getting paid in some situations, in a go-forward basis, the pay design is designed to help address some of those concerns.
Question that we've gotten asked, it's hard to purchase a vehicle right now. Not a lot of cars out there on the lots because of the chip shortage. We keep hearing about this. Are we experiencing any issues purchasing equipment?
Yeah, so I just checked in with Jake, our VP of Equipment Engineering, and same storyline essentially. There are delays, there are component issues and chip issues. The Ukrainian crisis has obviously not helped in that regard because some of those components and metals and things come from that region. So we will continue to see those delays in the supply chain. We do see some light at the end of the tunnel where we had a pretty decent April in terms of equipment coming in. We'll see a little bit of a slower May, and then we'll see an increase in June as well. And then what we anticipate July through the end of the year is a more more steady flow in terms of what we've been expecting. At the beginning of the year, the equipment we were receiving was actually equipment that was ordered from last year.
Before, yeah.
And so now we're getting into the actual equipment that should be arriving for this year. So slow, steady progress. We know it's painful and getting those new trucks in and getting you out of older trucks, but we see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel as it relates to June, end of June through the end of the year, and a steady progress with the equipment. Steadier. It's all relative, I should say.
One more question from Stephen Moore Ryan. He says, hello from Florence, South Carolina. I'd like to find out about truck wash credits. Currently, if I understand correctly, I can only have it washed after a PM. The wash bay at Charlotte doesn't do much more than knock the dust off. I take a lot of pride in the appearance of my ride, and once every 70,000 miles is hard to wait for. Thanks.
Yeah, so after your PM, so going to Charlotte to get it washed versus potentially a Blue Beacon voucher. So I think after your PM, you have a voucher, you can take that to a Blue Beacon versus going to Charlotte. But we get this question a lot, and appreciate that you have that pride and want to keep a new truck. It really comes down to kind of an exception-based process where if your truck is really bad for whatever reason, whether it be a certain yard you went through or a certain weather event, approach your DTL. If it makes sense, we will absolutely authorize a wash. We have our process in place, and we understand it doesn't always, it's not as frequent as folks would like. But again, if you have a particular situation that it just got really dirty because of a muddy yard, whatever the case may be, approach your DTL, have that conversation, and look to them to get that authorization. But we appreciate your pride in driving a clean truck and wanting to have a clean truck, and we certainly don't want to impact that or discourage that. So work with your DTL on an exception-based basis, and we can work through that issue.
Yep, that's it.
So we want to thank you for your time today. Thank you for your attention and attendance. We apologize for those technical hiccups. Again, new format, new location. We feel like we have those things worked out, so you should see improvements as we hop around the CBC month to month, and you'll see a different look each month. But let us know how you felt this went. Let us know how you felt about kind of having the team pop on and provide information. We'd like to do that, and we'd like to do a few more commercials for you, and commercials being kind of current questions you have, relevant concerns you have, where we can say, hey, MPG guru, come out here. Hey, GPS guru, come out here. And we can have them do a quick 5-minute opening to help aid understanding and education, as well as getting that feedback and making improvements. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your attendance. We appreciate you. We'll see you next month. Drive safe.